Latest news: Elon Musk buying Silicon Valley Bank. 2023 is officially out of reach. At least that's how a lot of us see it today. I mean, at first glance, it really does look like this year has just been loaded with crazy, unforeseen circumstances. And the worst part is they all seem to just pop out of nowhere and change the world around us completely. And perhaps the worst thing to have hit us yet is the sudden collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank in February. The crash came as an absolute shocker, causing problems in so many different parts of the economy, from cryptocurrency to stocks and even the amount of trust people have in banks in general. However, the year might just be giving us a breather, as Elon Musk has suggested that he is open to buying the collapsed bank and saving. But why is he going to do this? Can he really save us? Or is this just another way 2023 plans to put us in another crazy, unforeseen situation? No need to worry, we got the gist, so sit back and turn your mind on for a bit as we dive into how Elon may save us or terribly doom us. Oh, and Tesla stockholders, hold on to your hats. It's going to be a wild ride. Okay, before we get to tell you all about how Elon plans to save us, we first have to tell you about how we got into this pickle in the first place. See, Silicon Valley Bank is one of America's most popular banks, but not just for its catchy name, but because it is the bank of choice for business startups and tech-centric companies. And well, that means the majority of the people who banked at Silicon Valley Bank deposited more than $250,000, which, by the way, is the government-imposed limit on deposit insurance. Which kind of meant that if they lost that money for some crazy reason, they wouldn't be getting it back anytime soon. But there's nothing to worry about. The money is safe in a bank, right? Well, you'd be wrong if you said yes, because the money wasn't even in the bank in the first place. And no, there isn't an epic bank heist story coming up, but there is a really sad one, so it's best you pay attention. See, Silicon Valley, like any other bank, used the money deposited to buy billions of dollars worth of bonds, which is actually a really safe and lucrative thing to do. But sadly for the bank and its customers, the value of those investments fell terribly because they paid lower interest rates than what a comparable bond would pay if it were issued in today's higher interest rate environment. But this wasn't what killed the bank. In fact, it was a minor issue because banks hold onto their bonds for a long time unless they absolutely need to sell them. The problem came when the startups and tech-centric companies came knocking for their already spent cash. So you see, the bank soon found itself struggling to get extra funding, which made matters worse because customers became scared for their funds and began withdrawing their Silicon Valley deposits. So essentially, Silicon Valley Bank suffered what is called a run on the banks. Sadly, in the end, bank regulators had no choice but to seize Silicon Valley Bank's assets to protect the assets and deposits still remaining at the bank. The Silicon Valley Bank collapse was a truly unexpected situation, as it caused more than $150 million in deposits to be locked up in receivership, which sadly meant the customers would not be getting their funds for a long time. But there might still be hope for these unlucky customers, as a Twitter user posted a tweet asking Twitter to buy the bank and turn it into a digital bank. And to everyone's surprise, Elon Musk replied, saying he was open to the idea. And so there is still hope for the bank. After all, Elon is a billionaire, and he could simply buy the bank and save it from dying. Well, that's not going to be possible because, although not popularly known, Twitter is actually broke. In fact, it's just recovering from a 90% drop in advertisement revenue that came as soon as Elon bought the bird. It's so bad that at the moment, people are actually hoping that the app would be able to break even later this year. And for Elon's billions, that too is a no-no, as a large part of it is tied to Tesla stock. And well, we'll get to that soon. But for now, why does Elon want a bank in the first place? Well, the answer is quite simple. Elon has always wanted to create an everything app that allowed you to deposit money, transfer money, receive interest, take loans, and pretty much do anything with your money. The Everything app would be revolutionary, with some believing that it would be intertwined with Twitter. After all, you can already send money with the app. And in truth, Elon can probably make such a project work. After all, he does own PayPal. But the issue with this plan is that acquiring a banking charter is actually really difficult. I mean, first of all, you'd need a lot of money, like about $500 million in cash, and after that, it will still be quite a while before you can get the charter, as it usually takes 2 to 3 years. In fact, the best way to get a banking charter is to acquire a bank. And the easiest way to start a bank is not to start one but to buy one. So you can now see why Elon would be interested in buying Silicon Valley Bank. But what exactly would happen if Elon were to buy this dying bank? Regardless of the current state of the bank, acquiring Silicon Valley Bank would still be a Herculean task at best, as the bank would cost a lot of money. And if you've been paying attention so far, you remember we mentioned Twitter is broken. So where's Elon going to get the money to take on this project? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the Tesla stocks come in. See, although Elon promised in 2022 not to sell any Tesla stock in 2023, if he really does plan to buy the Silicon Valley Bank, then some of his stocks have to go. And contrary to what some would say, Elon Musk selling his Tesla stock is going to harm the stock price and many unlucky Tesla stockholders worldwide. We've already seen this happen last year when Elon sold his stock and the price plummeted to about $100 per stock. But that actually isn't the worst part, because even if Elon manages to buy the bank and hurt stockholders worldwide, you would still be buying a whole lot of risk and uncertainty. Why? Well, see, when one buys a bank, they are essentially buying two things: the bank's assets and the bank's intellectual property, IP, both of which work hand in hand in helping you run the bank and get your money back. So say Elon Musk buys Silicon Valley Bank for $6 billion, with $2 billion going to assets and $4 billion going for the EP. Elon would actually be at a loss because, especially with the conditions of the bank, he would be buying a lot of toxic assets. What exactly are we trying to say? Well, if after buying the bank's assets for $2 billion, Elon is to go through the assets and realize they are actually worth $500,000, it would mean the billionaire has lost about $1.5 billion. And that would once again hurt the Tesla shareholders, as he would have to sell some more stocks. And assets aside, Elon would still have to struggle with having to make the bank's customer base trust it once again. And to do this, you would need to give them good lending options, like giving out margin loans or giving out line credit. But this too is a problem, as Elon would essentially be giving out his money and would be further in debt, and as such, the Tesla stock would suffer once more. The Silicon Valley Bank crash really did affect a lot of companies and businesses around the country, with many of them barely avoiding bankruptcy and many others not being lucky. However, although it's quite the story to tell, a billionaire swooping in to buy the bank wouldn't necessarily save it and could even cause more harm than good to the general masses. And with $13 billion of net retail inflow going into Tesla stock at the beginning of this year, the aftermath of such a buy would hurt many investors and business people nationwide and quite possibly worldwide. It's still unclear if Elon will buy or abandon the idea, and all we can do is watch and hope that regardless of his choice, he is able to manage the outcome and stop it from spilling over and hurting countless others. But what do you think about the whole Silicon Valley Bank issue? Should Elon buy the bank? Or should we count our wins and losses and move on? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more detailed explanations. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely love this next one. Until next time, stay curious.